Hello, and welcome to Behavior Breaks. This resource is provided by the Arkansas Behavior Support Specialist. My name is Kat Lancaster, and I'm one of the behavior support specialists that serves the Northwest Arkansas Education Service Cooperative.
And my name is Audrey Kingla. I am one of the behavior support specialists that serves the Guy Finter Education Service Cooperative in Western Arkansas.
I'm Sandy Crawley, and I am one of the Arkansas Behavior Support Specialists, and I serve the Dawson Educational Service Cooperative.
Have you ever made a referral to have a student evaluated because of their behavior? And when you share definitions with the response to intervention team or assessment team, you might say things like the student is defiant, the student never does anything, or they act this way because of their ADHD. And those team members say, well, we don't know what that means, and we need more information before moving forward. As a teacher, this becomes very frustrating and keeps from really trying to pinpoint what the student might need to help them move forward in the classroom because behaviors impede that. Today, we're going to talk about what is and how to define behaviors. During this behavior break, we'll learn about the following topics. We'll discuss multiple tier systems of support, define behavior itself, and give examples as well as non-examples to help us determine what we are seeing and measuring. Multiple tiered systems of support, or MTSS, is the pyramid that consists of tier 1, 2, and 3 supports. MTSS is comprised of two basic elements: academic and behavioral response to intervention. If a student demonstrates aversive behaviors in the classroom, then learning is jeopardized for the student and potentially others. District and school teams often have academic RTI. However, behavior RTI is the foundational missing element, which is a core feature of intervention that must be in place to promote learning with academic RTI strategies. Let's go deeper today into learning about universal tier 1 strategies. And we'll discuss defining behavior seen in the classroom that facilitates core behavior and social skills that promote academic and behavior participation in the classroom.
Behavior is any action that is observable and measurable that produces at least one change in the environment. Behavior is neutral. It's not positive good or negative bad. Behavior is shaped by experiences and the history of reinforcement. Behavior is related to the context in which it occurs. In order to change behavior, we have to be able to take clear and accurate data on the behavior. The first step in that process is to begin thinking of behavior in observable and measurable terms. By observable, we mean, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What physical movement occurs? What actions describe the behavior? For instance, anger is not an observable behavior, but screaming, throwing objects, and ripping paper are. By measurable, we mean, can you count it? Can you time it? Can you measure the intensity? Throwing a tantrum is not measurable, but punching someone with your fist hard enough to leave a bruise is. Behavior is action. It's what living organisms do. The dead man's test helps make sure our focus is on the interactions between a person and their environment. Can a dead man refuse? Yes. Can a dead man be quiet? Yes. Can a dead man be off task? Yes. So those are not behaviors. Can a dead man talk? No. Can a dead man sit down? No. Can a dead man eat? Nope. So those are behaviors. If a dead man can do it, it's not a behavior. The stranger test is also very helpful for data collection purposes. Instead of words like tantrum, aggression, angry, meltdown, etc., which mean different things to different people, use behaviors like punched with a closed fist hard enough to leave a bruise, or screamed no loud enough to be heard down the hallway. I do not have to know the child to know if those behaviors are occurring because they are so specific. Also, since the stranger and I are in agreement on what constitutes the behavior, it will be much easier to measure that behavior and collect accurate data. Notice in the listed examples that these are all actions that a dead man is unable to do and can be observed by another person that will experience the same sounds, sights, and actions. Behavior is not a static state. This means it cannot be described as an absence of movement. Also, movement caused by an independent force is not behavior. For example, if you are flying in an airplane, you are not doing the action, the airplane is moving. You are passively participating in the action and not doing the action.
There are several obstacles or mistakes we encounter when selecting a target behavior and when we attempt to define that behavior. One obstacle, big categories, is giving a label to a behavior that is too broad and encompasses many behaviors that the student is not displaying. Here are some examples of categories that are commonly used to report behavior in the school setting: aggressive, defiant, lazy, insubordinate, off task, disruptive, or responsible. Just remember that big categories have to be clarified when defining behavior. Another obstacle is when one person assumes what another person is thinking or feeling. This is called mentalism. These are private events or thoughts that are only identified by the individual. Individuals can't observe and measure thoughts or feelings of others. When we attribute a student's behavior to being mad, afraid, frustrated, or sick, we are using mentalisms. Mentalisms are not helpful. Listing too many behaviors in one definition is another obstacle for defining behavior. This creates a challenge for prioritizing problem behaviors as well as collecting data. Multiple behaviors within one definition makes it difficult to pinpoint the target behaviors that is interfering with the student's learning and socialization. In addition, it results in confusion for the observer and data collector. For example, a teacher reports that Sam is hitting, pinching, spitting, throwing objects, and screaming at her peers. In this situation, it is difficult to pinpoint the primary interfering behavior in order to collect data. The final obstacle in defining behavior is making judgments about others as well as blaming the behavior on a person's diagnosis, disability, or flaws, such as Gage is just so lazy. Amanda is anxious. Lindsay's mom doesn't make her obey at home. Kendra runs around the room because she has ADHD. Or Charlie hits others because he has autism and doesn't understand. Attached to this behavior break is a helpful tool to assist in developing behavioral definitions which are observable and measurable. Let's take all the information and apply it to a common behavior reported in the classroom. In this example, the initial definition of refusal of task is a big category and is not observable or measurable. When utilizing the dead man test, the new definition becomes: when the teacher verbally gives a directive in the classroom, the student walks away and verbally refuses the task presented. Although a new definition exists, how can a stranger count or time the target behavior? Using the stranger test, we need to provide examples and non-examples for agreement of when to measure the problem behavior. Here are some examples for refusal that consist of verbal comments to refuse a task, or puts his head down and crosses his arms, or says no and walks away from the learning area or teacher. Refusal non-examples may be When given the choice, the student chooses not to do the task. Or student's attention was diverted at the time of verbal direction. Or student leaves the learning area when no directive given by the teacher.
In this behavior break, we discuss MTSS in relation to behavior in the classroom for academic and social goals. Next, we defined what behavior is in observable and measurable terms and the importance of using tools like the Dead Man and Stranger test. The discussion also addressed common obstacles encountered when defining behaviors. And lastly, we reviewed an observable and measurable behavior from a typical classroom, which included examples and non-examples within the behavioral definition. Thank you for taking time to learn about defining behaviors. And if you have any questions or need additional information, please refer to our arbss.org webpage under the Professional Learning tab within the FBA modules called Defining Target Behavior, as well as the Contact Us tab for emails. Have a great day.